How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another Skyrim video. Today, I'm going to be ranking the top 5 worst spells in Skyrim Special Edition. Now, to be clear, I'm not going to be talking about any modded spells or any of the Creation Club ones, just the spells in vanilla Skyrim that everyone has access to. Now, also, I did make a video on the top 5 best spells in Skyrim, so if you haven't watched that video, you definitely should. I think it's a pretty good video. But, okay, before we begin, by the way, this is just my opinion, so if you really like any of the spells that I'm mentioning on this list, please don't be offended. I'm not trying to be rude against your spells, okay? This is just my opinion. Alright, so with that being said, the 5th worst spell in Skyrim, in my opinion, is the Bound Dagger spell. Now, this is actually a very niche one, and I think I've only ever used it a few times, and I never really saw a reason to use it any more than that. Now, the reason why this is such a weird one is because it's actually a Dragonborn DLC spell. It was introduced with the Dragonborn DLC, and the main, I think the only way of getting it is by buying it from Neloth. I think you may be able to buy it from the Cottage of Winterhorde. I'm not certain of it though. But I'm pretty sure the only way you get it is on source time, and which is really weird because in my opinion, I personally never go to source time until I'm pretty high level because everything on that island is so difficult, and you kind of gotta be at least level, like at least 20, and that's like at the minimum. So to get such a weak weapon at a very tough stage of the game, it just seems unfitting to me. I guess it could be good for roleplay. I could definitely see, a spectral assassin, using this and having a lot of fun. But when it comes to objectively, is it good or is it bad? It's pretty bad. Now, the 4th worst spell in the game is Frost Rune. And I was actually going to say all of the runes together, but I think Frost Rune is the worst one out of all of them, because out of the 3, Frost, Fire, and Shock, Frost just so happens to be the weakest. Yeah, personally, runes are really bad in my opinion. Like, yeah, they can splash damage, and yeah, they can do a little bit more damage than, like, Ice Spike, or, like, Icy Spear, or something like that. But it's just, they cost so much magicka, and they're so niche, too, because you have to use them in a close-by situation. Like, you can't use it against somebody who's really far away. They have to be pretty much right up in your face for you to really use it on them. And I find that to be really disadvantageous, because, like, if they're in your face, you would not want that, especially as a mage. When you have so low defense and so low HP, you do not want enemies to be close to you at all. So, to force yourself to be close to them, to use a mid spell, and also use all of your magicka all at once, it's just nothing but disadvantage, disadvantage, disadvantage. There's not really any specific situations I would even feel like an advantage to use it. It can be kind of fun, but it's not really good. I would never use it in a fight to try to win. I would just use it for fun, pretty much. Alright, moving on, the 3rd worst spell in the game is Healing Hands. Now, this isn't necessarily a really bad one. I can see some people might want to use it, but me personally, I don't ever really need to heal my NPCs. Like, if I got Lydia following me around, usually I've given her some good equipment, a nice big battle axe, some, Daedric armor, maybe even like Ebony or Orcish, depending on what stage of the game I'm at. Usually, I don't need to heal my companions because they usually have pretty high HP, and they also have pretty high level caps. So if you actually have a good NPC following you, there's almost no reason to use this. And even if they do get downed, as soon as they get back up, I think usually they get back up to max HP anyways, so it's like, I don't know, it's good for roleplay, but it's really just not useful in my opinion. Now, the 2nd worst spell in the game, I was gonna put this at first, but I thought of an even worse one. But the 2nd worst spell in the game is Detect Dead. So if you guys don't know, Detect Dead is the undead version of Detect Life. Detect Life basically means when you cast it, you can kind of sort of see life forms around you, like you can see through the wall. So if you're in a room and you don't know if there's enemies in the next room, you can cast Detect Life and, you would get a little outline. Detect Dead, okay, before I move on to Detect Dead, Detect Life is really bad because if you actually have, like, if you're anything older than the age of 10, you pretty much understand the layout of dungeons, especially if you've played Skyrim for at least like a month. You pretty much get the idea that if you go from room 1 to room 2, there's going to be enemies in room 2. It just makes sense. It's just logic. So it's not really useful at all if you really understand the game. I guess it's kind of useful in hyper specific challenge runs where you need to like not take any damage at all. But Detect Dead is even worse than Detect Life. That's why Detect Dead is on my list and not Detect Life, because Detect Dead is even more niche because you can only use it on vampires and like Draugr and like skeletons. That's literally it. It's a little bit handy if you're in a room with like a million of those coffins and you want to find out which coffins actually have Draugr in them. But even still, I feel like you hardly get an advantage out of using this spell. It's expensive and it's just stupid in my opinion. Alright, now moving on to the number one worst spell in all of Skyrim, and that's Courage. Courage is a level 1 illusion spell, and what it does, if you cast it on an ally, or I think if you cast it on anybody, it gives them a little bit more HP, a little bit more stamina, and it makes them rush into combat. Now this is a horrible spell, horrible, because if you have a follower with you, they will naturally run into combat no matter what. Like they would never flee unless they're like at absolutely 0 HP, and even then they usually don't flee. They might, like Lydia or Farkas or Serana, they don't run away. They would rather die than run away. The bit where it gives a little bit of HP and a little bit of stamina, I actually find that to be a bad thing, because if you use Courage on one of your NPCs and it gives them a bit more HP, and then your NPC friend dies, like not dies, but like they go down, and the spell wears off, they now have a negative HP, because when the spell wore off, they had 0, and then it subtracted the HP that you gave them when you casted the spell, so they have negative HP, and then they will literally never get up until you like reload the game or you leave the room and go back in, you know what I mean? So it's actually, at best, it's useless. At worst, it's a crippling bug, basically. Anyways, let me know in the comments if you agree or if you disagree with my ratings. Those are the 5 worst spells in Skyrim in my opinion. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't like the video, leave a dislike. And yeah, subscribe as always. I'll see you all next time. Peace out.